no one ever loves me, as we're all like holding you and petting you,
Right, praising you, and
there's presents all around you, and I wish I had somebody to care about me.
Stop! Don't be a cry. Hello and welcome to Night School Out of Character. We are on episode 9. We are almost in the double digits. Almost.
We're coming for you.
We are.
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you, 10.
Who are we coming for? I don't know.
Number 10.
Number 10.
But we put out out of character episodes every other Wednesday, and there are a lot of just fun conversations with all of us, the cast of Intrigues of Etor Isle. And today we're going to be talking about supporting characters and why they're important, why they're good, why everybody needs a support system. So, Hovda, what is a supporting character?
Well, most people I think the supporting character is like just the healer of the group, which they're not mistaken. But like,
which they would be right about.
Yeah, they would be right about. But also, like, there are so many ways you could play almost any race and class as a supporting character, if that's what you want to do and that's how you develop your character. It's, some classes are definitely built for it to be done easier than others, but if you play enough, and you learn as many character, it'll lead to a supporting character in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. And I think we got most of that.
Yeah.
Did the terrible marketer cut it off?
That internet is always iffy with you, Hovda.
No, but I really like that idea of like not sticking to like the norm or what you would expect to be a supporting character. And I think when we say supporting character is like what other people would call like a buffer character, which are mostly like your clerics and more of your spellcasters. I've never played like a non-magic character that I played as a buff, but I'm already starting to kind of think of like different ways you could do that. And Vick, you're doing a great job with Kelness being a barbarian, being a really awesome supporting character.
Battle medic.
Seriously, like it's amazing. Like I am so surprised.
And that Sentinel feat.
Oh,
I love it.
Are they within 2 feet? Are they within 10 feet? Are they within 10 feet?
I know. I'm just checking. Well, no, so like I had to go and kind of like in my brain, like using context clues, I thought of a support character like in a couple of different ways. Sort of that way, but also in the context of like, okay, the focal point of the storyline is not on me right now. And how can I, as not the centerpiece of what's going on, like help that character, but also like in an encounter, just being helpful. And it was really exciting to have that opportunity when I leveled up to go that route. And I like to be a helpful person. So now my character can do that too. But it is like, I did some reading too. And that was one of the things that popped up was as a barbarian, if you take a certain route with your Storm Herald or Tundra, whatever, with your aura that I can't say.
It was good. Aura, yeah.
Aura. See, I gotta...
Words.
You know
Italian,
what? It's whatever you want, however you want it to be.
My aurora.
Borealis, yeah.
Yes.
It's draconic. It's perfect pronunciation.
There you go.
There you go.
So it's just seeing it in different aspects, but reading about it, I was like, oh, I did something.
Well, you've been doing a lot, and I like that distinction you make between it being you're a supporting character like storyline wise, and then a supporting character like more battle wise, because they are so different. Because I feel like there's a lot of ways for like somebody who's not a traditionally supporting character to be supportive, moving the story forward, maybe not necessarily during battle, but that doesn't mean that they're not a supportive character. I like that.
But when you really think about it, I know the word healing's come up a lot, but it's not just healing. It's what is the role of a support. Anybody can support. And even if you pay attention to your actions, many people only see when they have an action as I have an attack. An attack is only one way that you can use your action.
Mm-hmm.
You have a list of things that you can do. So even if you're not a spellcaster, you have the action to aid. And to aid someone is just to give them advantage on something. To say, I see this person is trying to wrench the bars open and give us an escape. I'm going to aid them. Well, okay, you just used your action in a way that is going to assist. You've just buffed them in a way. It's everybody's game to be a support character. Some people just feel like it's not their role because stereotypes and literature have made it seem like certain people have a job to do. And if that's not what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm not going to touch it. And I love it whenever my players break away from their stereotypes and find ways to do it. For the barbarian to be y'all's main healer cracks me up.
Well, let's not go main healer.
I was going to say, hang on.
If you were to go back and tally up the amount of health that's been divvied out, she's pretty close to beating you because she's done it regularly and she gets to activate that aura every turn. And she was doing 2 points to every single person. Now you can do a lot more in one go. So I would say, yes, Dakar, as a druid, your class has spells that will automatically outnumber the amount that she can give out. But her consistency has made her probably the healer of the group. So you always got to think about it that way, is it's not always the spells that heal, because every class of spellcasters can heal except for sorcerer. I don't believe they have it innately in any of their spell lists to heal. But bards can do it, clerics, paladins, rangers can even heal. And so they innately have ways to do that, but they also have other skills that help you stay stealthy, that help you hide, that help you avoid detection. Those are supporting characters as well. So I'm curious about, have y'all considered or have y'all ever played anything where your characters do support, but not in a I need to get you off the ground and back alive way?
So I try now that I've played a little more, I try to pay attention in an encounter to like what's going on, how close I am to someone. Is there a way to play off what they're doing or strategy wise, and trying to, as a character, talk to other characters more. Like, hey, I'm going to do this, or hey, when you have a chance, get closer to me, please. Or please don't get near me. I'm going to burn you.
Which is a big thing, and you do it beautifully, Vic. The idea that you are given a 6-second dialogue to use in every turn in an encounter, and a lot of people don't use that. They just do their action, their bonus action, movement maybe, and then it's okay, I'm done. And sometimes I'll even be like, well, is there anything else you want to do? Because you could say something, and a lot of times it's what you say that helps set up something else. For a spellcaster, a lot of your spells are either going to be in a line, in a cone, sometimes they hit in a direct column, they have a different range, and they do affect your party members as well. For spellcasters, it is a nuisance to get a spell off because half the time your party is in the way. So using that verbiage of clear the deck, drop, find cover, you have to have that conversation in battle mechanics as well.
It's appropriate table talk.
Yeah, it's really appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, and not even table talk, like it's part of your role play. Like, and I know in past campaigns, we've played with people who they play the general of the group, and every turn they're giving directions of like saying what characters should go where. And it's a really good way of giving people kind of playing meta, but in your character, because his background was very, very military. He was a fighter. Like he went in,
he's a strategist.
And it was very, very strategic. Would run in, position himself, and tell everybody where they should be. And in no way was he a healer or anything, but that support, that verbal support that he gave every turn was incredible. And that's also like a form of support that I think a lot of people might overlook and not see themselves as that buff character.
Hovda, you might have information on this. Another way that support characters use spellcasting support, is people who can manipulate the landscape of kind of organizing the chaos by controlling the chaos that they're in, like maintaining the dimensions of where you're fighting. So you played a ranger before. Did you ever find yourself using any of those kind of spells to kind of manipulate where things were going?
I mean, I don't know if I use them well, but I know I would try. Because yeah, it's like to your point, yeah, because it's, you already have this sort of distance built in as a ranger, using bows and arrows and stuff like that, almost like a spellcaster, because you got that distance. But yeah, the ranger has certain spells where you can try and sort of shape the battlefield to either, funnel enemies towards your group, away from your group, whatever may be needed at the time. And if if the enemy goes against, what you're sort of trying to do, it's either going to damage them, put them at disadvantage, put your group at advantage of some way, shape, or form, where, even though you're not doing damage, like your teammates now have an opportunity to do a lot more damage. Because it's one of those things where, yeah, I can shoot an arrow, ooh, let me roll a d6, or I can give my barbarian the chance to, roll 2 d20s and then roll, how many other dice.
You nailed it right there. And I feel like this is the conversation that many people struggle with. And I remember we had this conversation with you as a ranger. You would always say that, well, I can only patoo, and it's just small arrows. But when you learn to use your character to control the battlefield and you maneuver them to your heavy hitters, or you position them in a way where you could get a massive spell off from a spellcaster, that is an assist to me. That is you actually earn that credit. If we're doing the Gimli, Legolas kind of body count kind of stuff, that one is still yours, or all of those are yours, because you're the one who set it up. And that's the joy of watching it whenever the players take control of the battlefield, because the DM already created it in a way that they know what to use and how to best manipulate it. When you manipulate it away from the DM, it makes that encounter so much better. Because that makes, like for me, I have to start thinking, okay, how am I going to actually do this to even make this get back on track where I wanted it? But it's not supposed to be. That's the joy of that is my absolute joy when it comes to supportive characters. Supportive characters can piss off the GM.
Yeah, I feel like trying to dip my toes into DMing more is one of those things where, like you said, it's like, okay, here's this character, here's how I have a plan to go. It's black and white for me. But then when something like that happens, you're like, oh, okay. Now as a GM, it's like, well, okay, how smart or dumb is this creature I have? Would they just go straight into it? Would they be more, tactician and go around, but that's going to lead them into the trap, possibly being set up. So it's like stuff like that. Getting to play with that and see that, it's one of those things where it's like, as it is, the GM sort of seems like they're not playing, but that is something that, essentially helps them play a little bit more, because like you said, you have everything already, this is how it's going to go. And then when it changes, it's like, okay, let me figure this out.
I like that. Michael, has there ever been a time, and maybe not in our campaign right now, possibly, where a support character really threw you off?
Has there ever been a time? Yes, there's been many,
I can think of one.
I think about our past campaign of, we got to a very big, difficult boss kind of creature in the storyline, and it was supposed to be a hard fought battle. You had just gone through a really extensive dungeon crawl that we haven't done yet. We haven't gotten to a dungeon crawl in our game, but the act of going through a dungeon crawl causes you to go through a lot of your spells, to use a lot of those reserved for the day skills. And then when you're almost tapped out is when you face the real threat, and you have to really negotiate how you're going to fight it and survive, knowing you still have to get out. It puts that pressure on you. I remember getting into the end of the dungeon crawl, having the full reveal, and there was a lava pit that was like a tank of lava. Like it was an above ground pool of lava. It was just beautifully set just for the look. And I remember having one of your characters who was able to punch basically through this wall, and just the lava flew into the room. And I kept thinking, this is going to make things so hard, because now I have to track where the lava is flowing, how fast it gets. And if you've ever dealt with lava in any game, it's a really easy way just to die instantly. It does some damage. It's things like that where I have to really think on the spot, and I'm always proud of my characters when they do something like that. But then I'm also furious because my workload goes up.
Like, why did you just leave it alone?
However, I will say, as a player, I typically play support characters, mainly because I know a lot of people are more interested in doing damage, and so I know there will be somebody on the team who will have damage capabilities. But if I go in and I can work on manipulating the DM's plans, as a GMDM, I get the frustration, but I also get that it makes the game more exciting. So like one of my favorites is currently I'm playing a bard, and I love the idea that my bard can a lot of the spells are psionic based, telepathy, a lot of disguise. And when it comes down to things that I can do, most of my spell list are things you wouldn't really use in an encounter. But there's many times we avoid encounters completely because my character has found a way to get around it where it wouldn't start. And I think that's another part, is people feel like the DM has encounters, you have to do them because they were planned. No, I can put in hours and hours of work, and you can find a way to talk around a situation, then kudos to you. You deserve to be able to get around it without any fight.
But that's when we have to hear about the cave later. You guys went by that cave. There was that cave I had for you. You didn't go.
Oh no, that was that was me just giving y'all a hard time. But no, your skills, all that skill list you have, your athletics, sleight of hand, those kind of things, those are still pretty much buffs, especially if you have a proficiency in something. You can still use those skills. Even in an encounter, you can ask to use those skills.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Well, and I feel like our party, the party of three, we are pretty balanced as far as like support, like having support. Like, I mean, Q, like I said in our last episode that will be out not this Friday but next Friday. I mean, she has a little bit of a complex because she can't do as much. She feels like she can't do as much as Dakar and Kelnis, but it's because she's seeing all of the things that they're able to do for each other, and for her. And I think that's really nice for a party, like for it to be balanced.
I love Vick's face because Vick's face right now is a mixture of Vick responding to what you just said and also Kelnis responding. Go ahead, Vick, talk on that.
You're crazy.
Oh no.
Think about like we've been in what? Oh no.
Oh no, everybody froze, but you're back.
Okay. The encounters we've been in, and like some of the big characters that Q has taken care of, like in a deathly way, a murderous way. But even like in terms of like in the middle of an encounter, and some of that I guess is being a rogue, but some of that is well planning in terms of I'm gonna hop on Kelnis and throw my dagger. Like Q is a very effective member of the party.
But again, Kelnis being there was support. Like that's what it was.
But it was Q's idea.
It's fun that you're the one who brought up, Kat, about our previous players of having a strategist and a tactician on the field, that's who I see Q as.
Mm-hmm.
Q thinks around the situation and uses what's in the area to her advantage.
Yes.
And that's kind of how you support. It also has really helped because another way of controlling the ground level, especially when you have melee fighters, is not staying clumped together in a I can hit everybody and they can hit me. Because you use your rogue skills to disengage and find ways to break up the group, you're putting more focus on, especially if you hit somebody, their focus is on you right away. There's more of a chance that they're going to follow you and break away from the group. And you separate people really well, which has kept y'all alive because it's not everybody beating up on one person.
And I think that just kind of like ties into the fact that any character can be a supporting character. And I like that we're all kind of finding our own ways to be supportive to the party.
Other.
So to wrap it up, what I would like is for each person in your character right now, what is the biggest way that your character supports your team, whether it's in encounters or in general, just as this is how I support as our story progresses?
I think from a combat standpoint, it's definitely healing and some of those buff kind of spells. But I do feel like role playing wise, Dakar usually comes up with that outside the box idea. And sometimes they're not great, but sometimes, it's like, maybe it'll work.
I feel like Q has different ways of supporting Kelnis and Dakar. So I feel like for Kelnis, she tries to support her more in combat, like trying to get people away from her. But for Dakar, I feel like Q is more like role play emotional support and like defending you from people who she thinks is gonna hurt you.
Or like being supportive and like, no, I got your back, and
that emotional damage,
what you're feeling is valid.
Social emotional support.
Writing it into the curriculum.
you don't get that damage halved.
I think Kelnis, like what I try to do to be supportive is I try to go straight for what seems like the heavy hitter. Because if I'm big and can take the hits, then I'm going to go straight for that person so someone else doesn't have to, and at least chip away while I can. Yeah, and then if I can make sure my friends are nearby, right now I can give them a little boost when they need it.
So things that I noticed about you that I love, I'm going to go in reverse order. For Kelnis, I think you're absolutely spot on. You have more control of the layout of the position of all the characters, including the enemies and including your friends. Because since you took the Tundra Storm Aura and have the ability to heal, I've noticed you've been very careful of where you position yourself. Even if you don't get advantage on an attack because you're not flanking with somebody, you try to position yourself where you're equidistant between both of your companions, so that there's a chance if one of them falls, it's easier for you to get them and give them that boost to get them back up. It takes a lot of skill because you don't always get the hit on the person you want because you're more worried about keeping the people alive.
I would also give Kelnis credit for which it's easier to do as a barbarian, but how many just opportunity attacks she takes and doesn't care about when like all of the bigger opportunity attack gets you. Meh.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm going.
Big guy went that
big
way.
guy's
That's where
over
I'm
there.
going. Yeah.
Let's go.
But it is, and you play to your strengths of that you can last longer. You're probably going to survive if they're not heavy hitters, but you have bigger concerns you're more worried about. For Q, I've already told you, I feel like you're also one who uses the advantages of what's around you. You're spry, you're nimble. There's a lot of times in our games you've used bookshelves, you've used staircases, you use things to maneuver around quickly to get in and out. And having that lack of line of sight, especially on ranged people, is something you use a lot. You love cover. And I can't think of any other person in one of my games I've played with who has actually utilized cover as much as you. because when you hide behind something, even if you're not saying I'm taking the hide action, they know you're there. But if you are behind something, your AC is going to go up depending on how well hidden you are behind an item. And you do that a lot behind the tents. That last time when you're like, I'm going to get right behind the tent, but not right behind the tent, because you knew you had only a certain amount of speed to get out. But I love that it's smart how you use that to manipulate when you can get attacked and where people are going to come and get you. You funnel them into nice little areas. Dakar, I do love freaking love when you use your spells. Most of the time you pick your cantrips and you pick to use the weakest things to do damage on the weaker foes. And I've noticed you take out the minions and allow your friends to take out the big people. And I think that's incredibly smart, because it's usually the minions who are either bum rushing somebody and causing a nuisance of slowing them down, or they're ranged everywhere else and you're like picking them off with your damn sling. Your damn sling. But it's amazing because you manipulate, you stay out of harm's way as best as possible, and you just minimize the amount of threats from a distance. Now, if you are not in our campaign and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I like these ideas, but I really want to be one of those melee fighters and I want to still be able to help, because most likely you've been in a campaign where there is not a healer. There is one extremely easy way for you to be a healer in the battlefield. And that is, when you get to level 4, take the healer feat. So if you've never read about the healer feat, there's a lot of talk on this. You can go on. It is extremely overpowered. However, you can still talk with your GMDM and come up with a reasonable expectation for it. With the healer's feat, what happens is you can once you have a healer's kit, you can actually go around and use one action to revive one person, and you get to roll a number of dice for hit points. You get to add in your modifiers to increase that, and you also get to use the total number of your hit die. All of that counts to HP. So instead of healing somebody and have them just stabilize or having them come back to 1 hit point, they can come back up with like 20, 30 hit points, depending on how you level. If you are a barbarian or somebody who has a D12, or like, there's so many ways that it will build in ways that really help. Feats will help you. Another way Dakar can attest to this is, if you don't have a lot of healing spells and you are a known spellcaster, you can take the magic initiate feat and then take some base level cleric spells or paladin spells and have those abilities. Anybody can be a healer for the most part. It just might not be through magic. And there is nothing wrong with being a healer who actually doesn't bring anybody back up. You just stabilize them to 0 and you drag their ass out of danger. I'll tell you, one of the biggest ways to support is to know when to run away and to get your team out of there without any casualties. So let us know how you played as a support character, and please remember to subscribe to our channel. And big shout out, we are moving to Twitch. So if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, please make sure you check us out at Night School RPG on Twitch as we begin to move all of our Intrigues of Etor Isle content and all of our new ideas that are coming up soon, where you'll get to hang out with us as we support each other just as individuals and have a good ass time. Till then, take it easy. We will see you next time on OOC.
Ooh, that was
Love
good.
you guys.
I like that.
Yay!